Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. Los Angeles Rams get the win over the Seahawks, 21-19. Rams move to 8-2, Seahawks fall to 7-3. Of course, the story of the game is going to be the Rams defense / Seattle offense. 4 interceptions from Sam Darnold in this one. Other than that, it was a really equally hard-fought game on both sides, but the turnover is just a massive difference in this one. It felt like a couple games that did feel like playoff games, heavyweight battle, every play mattered. This was the one that got a little bit out of hand, but Seattle got back into it, got within 2, and had a chance to win in the end. But the 4 turnovers for Seattle were the difference, or the 4 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, everything for Seattle went reasonably well, with the exception of Darnold pretty much melting down, having 4 interceptions. Other than that, it's a pretty good game.
I broke down the 4. You want to hear them?
Sure.
All right. First one, I mentioned the Jordan Love back foot fadeaway is almost like a staple throw for him. It's like usually, not always good things happen, but he's able to get it down the field and receivers to make plays. When Darnold does it, usually not good.
Bad things happen.
Darnold's interesting because I think he's got the quote arm talent. Like he's got good zip and touch. He can he could do all the stuff with his arm. When he doesn't have his feet under him though, that's when bad stuff happens, especially over the middle. So his first one's a back foot fadeaway with pressure in his face. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Seahawks fan, or if you listen to our show, and I saw some comments, people like, oh, you guys are focused too much on Darnold against the Rams and the face. I'm like, are we really? And one throw kind of set the tone here. A back foot fadeaway from Sam Darnold with pressure in his face for the first interception. The second one, they had a stunt. Byron Young's hitting him while he's throwing. He's probably a touch late on it outside, or at least Kobe Durant's sitting on it. But he's getting hit. That's going to affect the velocity. But either way, they're sitting on it, right? Second interception. The next one, slight miscommunication, thrown to Arroyo up the seam, but it's never there.
Right.
And if you look at what do you have that? They get the double seams going. On the other side, they bend it in, which was right because it was too high look. They bent it, and he probably should have thrown to his left. He throws it up the right seam. It was never there. Maybe Arroyo's going to bend it a little bit. Doesn't matter, though. Cam Kitchens is all over it for the interception. And then the last one, it's heavy pressure. He avoids the heavy pressure and then makes the off-balance throw. Again, when his feet aren't set, he's not making those types of – he shouldn't be making those throws. He's laid over the middle under heavy pressure. So I think the only one you might slightly absolve him is maybe when he's getting hit on the Kobe Durant one. But either way, it's like you're about to get popped and you're throwing outside the numbers. They were all pretty bad, and every single one was under pressure, right? Was the seam under pressure?
Yeah.
They were all with someone in his face.
That would be the takeaway from this is, on the one hand, throwing 4 interceptions is bad. On the other hand, this was an example of what pressure can do. Like any time you pressure a quarterback, his numbers are going to absolutely crater and you force bad decisions. So it's not like this was an unforced disaster from Sam Darnold, but it was a disaster because they got to him a lot and forced these kinds of bad decisions. And that it was more like, I think it felt more like the Lions game at the end of last season's implosion than the Rams one. The Rams one, I think he was almost broken almost before that game began, like by the Lions game.
And that resulted in all the sacks.
Yeah. And then the second thing started to go badly against the Rams in the playoffs, it's like Darnold just completely imploded into himself. The Lions game, he actually hung tight for a while. Like it started to go bad, and he then sort of fought it, and then the more he fought it, the worse things went, and it sort of spiraled. This kind of felt like that, where it's like early, something bad happens, and it's like, okay, it's fine. And then fights it, and then, it was another bad. And like every time, then he tried to keep digging himself out of it, and the more he dug, the worse things got.
Yeah, I think the Rams have a pretty good feel for him. Like hit.
That's the big takeaway here is the Rams are now responsible for like 3 of his 4 worst games in the last 18 months.
Yeah, and they there was a 28-yard, beautiful one-handed catch by JSN who made it look easy. Just unbelievable.
Ridiculous play.
But there were not it was like they weren't completely sitting on the intermediate stuff, but on all of these interceptions, it's all short and intermediate stuff where I am a broken record talking this year about the defenses that combine pass rush and the coverage unit together. And Seattle does it really well as well. When you can get pressure or at least create some level of indecision on the quarterback, it allows the coverage unit to sit on routes, and that's what the Rams were doing. They were jumping the routes when Darnold was under pressure. It was just great team defense by the Rams. So credit them for making the plays. And then, we broke down this game for like 20 minutes, and a big chunk of it was how does Darnold handle pressure? And it wasn't like he hadn't had this game, like he hadn't had this game before. He had the Texans game on Monday Night Football where he had 2 or 3 of these bad turnovers, one in the end zone. The difference there was Seattle just kept making the stop. And, by the way, Darnold made a bunch of big-time throws in that game. Like, they balanced it out. So they had been teasing the high turnover game. They had it against Pittsburgh, right? They've had this game before, Seattle's offense, where they turned the ball over a bunch and put extra pressure on their defense. In the Houston game, they held and won the game because they just dominated the Texans' offensive line, and Stroud was having his own issues. So it didn't matter that they gave them 14 possessions. They still held on to win. You couldn't do that against the Rams, who weren't great offensively either. And Seattle's defense did a nice job keeping them in this. But when they got into the red zone, whether it was Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, he only had the one catch for 1 yard, but he's just a red zone cheat code, in the tight red zone where it's like, good luck covering the slant, covering the fade. And he had his touchdown, so the Rams just capitalized. It wasn't like they had a great game offensively, but they took advantage of the turnovers.
Yeah, they did. That's the big thing to come out of this game, I think, is the Rams' defensive front is nasty. They have Darnold's number. And that's a problem for Seattle because obviously they're within the same division, but also look at their records. I mean, these are two teams that both look destined for the playoffs. The chances are Seattle is going to have to play the Rams at some point, and that's not going well for them at the moment.
And when you talk about the turnover thing, like the Rams, how many plays? They only ran 50 plays offensively. So part of that's like you get short fields, so it's harder to sustain drives. But yeah, Seattle's defense did their best, held the Rams
they really
to
did.
2 of 11 on third down.
That's the thing. Like, Darnold kind of imploded. It's at the same time, I think it's pretty encouraging that this game was as close as it was given Darnold's 4 interception implosion. As you said, 2 of 11 on third down. The Rams were also going for fourth downs. Like early in the game, they go for 4th and 1. Kyron breaks it, almost scores. They score a couple plays later. That's the Devontae Adams touchdown. Like they were going for 4th downs early in this game to keep the drives alive. Meanwhile, Seattle punts it away on 4th and 1 close to midfield, whereas the Rams had been going for it. Like they had it this close with 4 Darnold interceptions and with the Rams stealing 4th downs, extending drives, and Seattle giving up a potential drive by punting the ball away. Like, this was really close, and a whole bunch of stuff went against the Seahawks.
Yeah, Seattle made a big 4th down stop right before Darnold's interception, right? I mean, and then Darnold throws another interception, and then they force a fumble on Puka Nacua. Like, Seattle's defense on either side of the turnovers either made a big stop and then Seattle turned it over again, or Seattle turns it over and then Seattle's defense comes back and gets the turnover. Like, they made some huge plays to just keep this thing close.
Yeah, you've also got, Emmanuel Forbes has a pass breakup in the end zone that saves a touchdown. Like, on a well-thrown Darnold pass, it's there, and it looks like Forbes is beaten, but he's got enough length to break it up. That was touchdown instead. Instead, it's 2nd and 20. The Rams made a bunch of plays, and this was a close game despite Darnold having that kind of meltdown.
And then after all that, Seattle still scores with 2:27 left to make it 21-19. And, they have a chance. If they can go, force a 3 and out and then get the ball back, they'll have an opportunity.
And they held.
And they did. But a beautiful punt, 50-yard punt to the 1.
Landed in the inside the 1. Like proper coffin corner punt where the punt did all the work. It didn't require, a guy getting down there to down it.
It's unbelievable.
Like, it went out of bounds inside the 1.
So that was, 99 yards for Darnold against the Rams. It was like Thursday Night Football.
Well, except they only needed the field goal, right? So
yeah, but I'm just saying they had to drive the whole field.
Right.
But either way, it was at the 1. I mean, if that was a touchback on the punt and they started from the 20,
huge. That's a massive,
great opportunity.
That's a huge difference. Like you only need to get into field goal range, so it's not like you need to drive 99. But the difference between that being the drive starting inside the 1 and the drive starting at the 25, 20. Where does the punt? I'm lost now. Where's
20?
Yeah,
it goes back to the 20.
Kick
Old
returns
school.
are screwing me up. So, but the difference, it's a 20-yard difference, effectively.
You know what? It's funny how we've all changed the way we look at football games. When a drive starts at the 20, like that's jarring. Like if you start a drive at the 20 for whatever reason, it's like, man, they got miles to go. You're just used to seeing them start near like one play and they're at midfield.
And to be fair, they had a shot at winning from 61. 61's a long field goal, but they got there.
I thought what was interesting at the end of the game is, there was a pass interference in there on Emmanuel Forbes that helped Seattle with 10 seconds left. I thought the Rams, Forbes was getting a little grabby on that drive. And it was at the point where Seattle had just one timeout left, and the Rams were right to get a little grabby. Like they should have picked up as many illegal contact penalties as their hearts desired, right? Pick up an illegal contact, get grabby, because the time was more important, right? When you have to drive the entire field and you waste 7 seconds on a play to just get 5 yards.
Except it's got to be illegal contact as opposed to pass interference.
It can't be pass interference, though. Forbes picked up a 13-yard pass interference, but the previous play he was grabbing JSN and kind of got away with it. And again, that's where I always come back to, you just see illegal contact in one game that's so ticky-tack, and you see one that's egregious on the other end, and it makes such a massive difference in the game.
So that play, the pass interference, it gives Seattle 1st and 10 from the Rams 49. So they're 1 yard the other side of midfield, but with only 5 seconds left on the clock. You're like, well, 5 seconds, what do? You try and they have a timeout. So 5 seconds, you try and get an instant few yards just to make it possible to kick from 61. So they did. Darnold almost held onto the ball so long that the clock ran out. Because the Rams dropped the entire defense. They didn't rush anybody. Yeah. The entire defensive line dropped off the line to take away the insta pass that the Seahawks wanted to throw. And Darnold almost crapped himself in that situation. Like he went, and then finally got rid of the ball, goes down. Shaheed hits the turf and immediately is calling timeout, and they get 1 second to take the shot. But I've never seen that before. They dropped the entire defensive line. Sometimes you see them where they drop everyone off the line before the snap, and it's obvious there's only 2 guys rushing or whatever. They literally had the line lined up and then dropped them all off into the insta throwing lanes, and Darnold almost seized up when it happened.
My favorite part of the 1 minute drill from Seattle is Greg Olsen in the booth once again, calling out everything that they should do, including that play. He's like, they got to catch and get down. And he's in the middle of the play, you got to throw it. And then they barely got it down in time to at least attempt the 61-yarder. But Olsen was, calling out everything that they should do. And they were doing the opposite. He was like, throw up the seam, one more play. And they're throwing outside, whatever it was. It was just the opposite of everything that Olsen was calling out game situations like a quarterback does. I've complimented Romo before. I think the best thing that he brings to the table is game management, because you have to run the show as a quarterback. Even as a former tight end, Olsen has a great feel for what you're supposed to do. Not that your position matters, but not every color commentator is saying, here's exactly what needs to happen in this situation with mastery of game management. So just another feather in the cap of Greg Olsen as a color analyst. I think he's been outstanding.
That final drive, by the way, didn't quite, I think it was the second play. I think they ran for 4 yards just to get breathing room on the first play. But the second play was a batted pass from Poona Ford, and there's just something funny about a 5'11" defensive tackle batting a pass at the line.
Just to give proper credit to the Rams as well, I think Poona Ford, by the way, has been a nice addition to that defensive line. He's a nice addition to every defensive line.
One thing, Olsen was saying, if that guy was 6'1", he would be talked about in a completely different light. And I think he would be. On the other hand, I think it's the fact that he's 5'11" that makes him such a good player. Like Jason Kelsey brought this up, that he was the guy that he hated to play the most. Like, obviously, Dexter Lawrence was somebody that he brought up as just, look, how am I supposed to block a guy like Dexter Lawrence? But he was like the other guy that gave me the most trouble was Poona Ford, because he's the one human who negates my advantage, right? He's shorter than me and he has longer arms. Therefore, he wins the leverage battle every time.
So good in the run game, just consistently year after year.
But it's the fact that he's that short that makes him the player he is. So people may talk about him in a different way if he was 6'1", but I don't think he'd be the same player if he was 6'1", because it's the fact that he's so low to the ground with those long arms that makes him so effective.
I thought the Rams pass rush did a nice job. Byron Young came free on the stunt. I told you that forced one of the Darnold interceptions. They do a nice job with the twists and stunts, and like they were in Darnold's face on all of those interceptions. So Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, thought they did a good job. The usual up front from the Rams as far as creating havoc. Kyron Williams ran the ball really well. Like I said, the Rams didn't run a ton of plays, but Kyron, a couple long runs, had the touchdown, forced a lot of missed tackles. I thought he did a great job running the ball.
And Seattle's run game was better than it's been as well. I mean, they got Kenneth Walker had a good performance. Like I said, other than the fact that Darnold threw 4 interceptions, this was a good game from Seattle.
So we tend to do this, right? Well, the Rams won, everything's good. Seattle lost, everything's bad. Your takeaway last night was like to overcome 4 interceptions and at least have you could have had a game-winning field goal. 61 yards. It's not easy, but we could have been talking about Seattle surviving this thing.
If this was the first time we had seen Darnold implode against the Rams defense, I would be like, the next time these teams play, I would expect Seattle to win based off how this game goes. You know what I mean? Because the chances are Darnold's not going to have that same level of nuclear meltdown. The problem is we've already seen him do that. Like, this is now the 3rd time, basically, that he's done that against the Rams defense. You're like, there's every chance that he melts down again the next time these two teams play.
Which is when? Is it week 18? Let me see here. I got it. No, week 16. Thursday night football. Is that Thursday night? Yeah. Thursday night football in Seattle, December 18th. So in Seattle, Darnold hasn't played them he wasn't awful against them in the regular season.
No, but he wasn't good either.
Yeah, but he hasn't played them at home yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't played the Rams at home yet. So that could change things. So the rematch is December 18th. And it was a big one in the NFC West. Rams, impressive win for them. But maybe it was somewhat evenly matched, and we'll see what happens in the rematch. That was a fun football game, though.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.